It's painted pink, it's all a show. Pink hydrogen wrapped up need, nuclear strict, disguised as clean. Painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. A Trojan gift, dressed in a lie, a polished mask for what's so right. The future's here, they say it's bright, but hidden deep, it's not so light. They say it's bright, they say it's bright, say it's bright. Pink hydrogen wrapped up need, nuclear strict, disguised as clean.
Hello everybody, welcome.
A scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. They sell us dreams, they paint it bold, but what's hidden there is cold. A polished face, a crafted guise, pink hydrogen, their perfect lie. Their perfect lie. What's this, what's left inside? A future.
That's a song about pink hydrogen. It's called Pink Hydrogen. It's about the small modular reactors and the nuclear industry claiming that making hydrogen by nuclear is so-called pink and green. They just switch the words, right? It's a song by filmmaker, musician James Lucid here on your very own YouTube. The whole song is amazing. And away we go. Hope you're doing well. Still pretty run down myself. And that's okay. You can call in at 709-589-4406. It's on your screen. I say a lot of shit on this show sometimes. Can't pay no attention to stuff I say, folks. We're all in this for the right reason. That's all that matters, right? But I've been at it for so long. Every sentence for me is difficult because there's so many things I should be saying that you can't say because on ShitTube you have limitations, and censorship against me is just astronomical. So we're back to another anniversary video. And we're going to be covering the 19th, today's March the 19th, 2025. We're going to be covering headlines from March the 19th. I think I got some from March the 20th too, of 2011. And, you know, you look back at all these anniversaries, and we've covered them all. Just 14 years now. And the story's still unbelievable. And it always will be. That'll never change. It's the most important story in history. So as you start to go through this stuff, you get to relive 14 years ago today, and you get to appreciate the propaganda from the industry, the entire industry. The students, from the university students to the alumni to the corporations, and of course the rotten, horrible, disgusting, parasitic media. Mistakes, misfortunes, meltdown, Japan's quake. Mistakes, misfortune, meltdown. I really, I'm always astonished at how sadistic a journalist actually really is. So this is the 19th. I'm sorry, this is the 18th. This is yesterday, 14 years ago. That's right, because I didn't cover this story yesterday, last night. And this was an important story because it had certain pictures in it. It had this picture in it, and this was taken on the 16th. So there was reactor 3 on the 16th. And it also had this picture in it. And this picture was taken on the 15th, March the 15th. We have reactor 1, 2, 3, and 4 completely gone. And 32 reactor cores in the 8 fuel pools at the top of these buildings. There's 2 fuel pools at the top of each building. with around 4 reactor cores per pool, which is not very much, considering how big the pools are and the fact you don't have a repository anywhere on the planet. But the entire planet in the nuclear industry knew the 4 buildings were gone. The entire planet. And that each of these reactor cores, because they're pure uranium, pure plutonium, and there's 36 reactor cores that are gone, each one of them was at least 100 Chernobyls. Because Chernobyl's a graphite. It was a small reactor. These are enormous reactors, and they had decades of reactor cores at the top of the buildings. And we're looking at an extinction event. Because it is. Nuclear power plant stops if you don't have enough power. Nuclear power plants stop if they don't have enough power. They don't stop, though, do they? How can a nuclear stop? If you don't have power, it melts down. So it doesn't really stop, and it never stops. It never stops releasing the incredibly harmful anthropogenic man-made atoms into the environment forever. There's nothing on the planet has a autoimmune trigger to defend against it. Stranded. They done everything they could to downplay the story. Stranded nuclear reactors, calling these things that have already, right? They've already acknowledged that they melted down. They already acknowledged they blew up. They already acknowledged all of this, but they wouldn't come out and publicly acknowledge it. But any journalist that's going to write the story would have known, because they have access to the academic world, they would have known that the reactors and the fuel pools were gone. And so it's never too late. It's never too late to hold these people. They should all be put in jail for what they've done to you. Heat, a process that can set fire to the surrounding material and touch off powerful hydrogen blast. Touch off. It's not like it's just a blast and it's all over. Power is the lifeblood of a disease factory. Nuclear power plant. But you never had no power for 1,200 kilometers. Some numbers are 1,200 miles. Let's say we say 1,200 kilometers to the low ball, the enormity of the story, because the story is so horrendous. If you got power, you can do a lot, but if you don't have any power, the water in the reactor vessel heats up, boils away, and fuel begins to melt. It's a problem they've gotten into now. See, the way they framed that is so dishonest. And he's headed the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission team that handled 3 Mile Island. They're literally the worst humans you'll ever come across. Anybody in the nuclear industry, they're the worst humans you'll ever come across. They're jackals. They're predators, and you can't rise up in this industry without being a monster. You literally got to be a disconnected monster. That's how they get the universities will seek these types of people out and put them in these positions. You have to be a total coward on top of that in order to work in the industry. Saturday morning, Japanese officials reported increased pressure inside the number 1 reactor. Well, you never had no power for 1,200 kilometers. You had no power at the power plant. You couldn't report anything because you couldn't quantify it. A few hours later, there was an explosion in one of the reactors. This is reactor 1. They're showing you that picture, and you've seen this picture a lot from this site here. So this picture was taken March the 12th. So this is a March the 12th explosion. So on March the 12th, this is the next day, there's not an academic on the planet that didn't know they lost the fuel pools on the reactor cores. Not one, and even today, they still have never acknowledged it. 14 years later. So by rights, everybody on the planet, when you see a nuclear academic, should kick the shit out of them right on the spot. The police should legally have to kick the shit out of them every time they see him. They should have to pull him over and kick the shit out of them every time they see him. They should be all of them should be in jail for the rest of their lives. None of them should ever see the light of day ever again. They should be in the dungeons. Mistakes, misfortunes. But this was on the 12th. And so if this happened to one of the reactors that had no power, they knew it was going to happen to all the other reactors, didn't they? Experts watching, and experts is another name for piece of shit, watching overseas immediately understood what it meant. Yeah, exactly. And they never, even today, they'd never told you, have they? Probably should have done a show on it because I'm still recovering. I guess there's more going on than flu. The weather is broke. I guess I dare to say winter's over. We live out in the Atlantic, and we're the last to see summer on the East Coast, on Canada. In Canada, we're the last to see what's summer doesn't show up here until July. Not April, not May, not June, but July. Even in June, it's nasty here. But this was one of the beautiful oases on this planet, pre-Fukushima. This was the last place on the planet where the bees didn't have any kind of diseases or anything. You know, the pollinators, the entire planet is dependent upon. You'd be lucky to find a bee now. Lucky to find a wasp. You'd be blessed to find a spider out in the woods where they live. I remember a few years back we were on a research expedition, and I was really focused in on spiders out in the woods. It should be 500,000, almost 480,000 per acre. Couldn't find any. And I was on the Salmon River, camped out. It was on the side of the old train tracks, which is a route across the province. It's 900 kilometers of tracks were taken up. And so you can drive across the province on these dilapidated so-called roads. And there was two retired teachers showed up in a side-by-side. It's like a 4x4 off-road. That's strictly for off-roads. Now, where I'm to, you can legally drive them on the roads, right? But anyway, they show up and they wanted to go salmon fishing. And Fisheries and Oceans were there that morning. I had the drone underwater. And they were pretty excited about it. And they said they were just down to the gates where the salmon have to come up these gates to get into the rivers. And they said nothing has come up that they saw down there. They wondered if I saw anything on the underwater drone. They were fascinated by it. And I was like, no. And so these two teachers shows up. And this is all because of Fukushima, right? These two teachers showed up. They were one was retired, the other one was still a teacher, I think, how that played out. They wanted to go salmon fishing in a river that had no salmon cat come up through. And I told them that. I said, Fisheries was here this morning. And they were still like, they still wanted to try fishing for salmon illegally. And they asked me, he said, what are you doing? I'm a researcher. I'm doing field studies on spiders. And he said, how's that going? I said, well, there's no spiders out in your forest. And I thought they might be concerned about it because, they're teachers, right? And one of them looks at the other and he looks at me and he says, well, I didn't know there were spiders out in the woods. And I said, you have a nice day, man. Because how do you talk to somebody that would say something like that to you when they're a teacher? Can you imagine how stupid those students have to be after they go through his class? I said, well, you think they only live in houses? It's just, it blows my mind how people with an incredible education, they're teaching your kids, are just idiots and assholes. As the level of radiation around Fukushima complex tops safe levels, now they showed you that picture, right? From the 15th, from 3 days earlier. That's in that story. I can't get rid of my contempt for these people. I can't switch that off. And it's not bordering, but it's, another way to describe it now is hatred. I have the ultimate hatred for this industry and for the people that are involved in it. Just they are the worst humans conceivable, and everybody on the planet will say those many different versions of those words in the near future. As the levels of radiation around the Fukushima complex top safe levels, Japanese authorities began making preparation to hand out iodine. But they didn't, did they? In fact, they raised the level 75 times higher than the idiots had already recommended for children. Imagine that kind of disconnect. Why did they do that? Why would you do that? What's the catalyst to do something like that? If it's not genocide. What is the catalyst for that? What's the catalyst for raising limits not 2 times higher or 10 times higher, which is absurd, or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 times higher, which is insane, but 75 times higher? Local officials raised sharply the level because what, they wanted the iodine for their kids or something? There was plenty to go around. Not that it's going to work. It doesn't work. Atomic contamination is threatening from Japan. 23 days of radioactive fallout. So we're at, in this story, we're at 18th. We're 6 days in. So 1/3 of the planet is covered in radioactive fallout at this stage. And they won't even give the local victims, and children in particular. How can you do that to the children? Well, easy. You're Japanese, right? I mean, Japanese don't care about children. Atomic contamination is threatening from Japan. What do you hear from the Vienna-based International Atomic Energy Agency? Dignified silence. Dignified. From monsters are not dignified. The International Atomic Energy Agency are not humans like me or you. The shutters are rolled down just like a weekend off. International Atomic Energy Agency was hid away from the world because the world, and that's where the world should have grabbed them by their hair and dragged them through the fucking streets. The damaged roof of number 1, the damaged roof. Now in that same story, they show you earlier the explosions, right? From day 2. I'll show you that picture. The damaged roof. The damaged roof. If you don't hate the nuclear industry, there's something wrong with you. If you don't spit on them every time you see them, there's something wrong with you. If you don't get in their face, who will? So see that explosion there? The damaged roof. Do you know what the roof they're talking about? Here's the roof they're talking about. So they're saying that roof up there, that sheet metal, is what caused the massive plume. So look at number 3 picture over right there. These buildings are 190 foot, 19 stories, 65 meters. That plume over there is not caused by steel. It's caused by the fuel in the fuel pool, right? And the fuel pools are where? They're at the top of the buildings. That cooked off at least 8 reactor cores is what you're seeing. My apologies. I'm still stuffed. They don't tell the truth. It's in their DNA. A member of the Liberal Democratic Party, longtime opponent of nuclear energy. They don't tell the truth. It's in their DNA. And there's an understatement, really, isn't it? They don't care about anything, only nuclear. There's nobody on the planet, there's no species on the planet that means anything to them. The only thing that means anything to them is their is their captor of the nuclear industry. I gotta go clean out the sinuses. So put a little song on for you. I'll be right back. It's called Cream Box. It's about how the Japanese. It's a song about how the Japanese are making radioactive food and selling it at the 7-Elevens and promoting it when no food should ever come out of a nuclear wasteland. Here you go.
Town. The cream box smiles, no frowns around. Soft and sweet with a glowing hue. It's the perfect snack for me and you.
Still melting, but this bread is sweet. Fukushima's gift, just take a bite. Nothing's wrong here, it's alright. Alright. Shano no aji, demo urashi. Hoshano no aji, demo urushi. Oh, so sweet, but we won't regret. Say the cream is fresh, sourced from near, but what's in the air might not be clear. Take a bite, don't think too much. Locals cheer with every touch.
I love it, man.
They say the cream is fresh, sourced from near, but what's in the air?
It's such a sick. And that's a song by James Lucid. It's such a sick thing that they're doing. I'm congested, my problem. They're growing food from ingredients that nobody will buy because it's from a nuclear wasteland. It should never be grown, let alone used to produce food. I mean, there's so many stories about that facet too. And James put it, one story in particular, put it to a song. Man, it, like, classic is not the word for it. And that's what we desperately need, is stuff like that. Just keep trying here. A resident with a bicycle walks in an area hit by an earthquake and tsunami and radioactive fallout. How can they pretend that this is not happening in every one of the stories? When on the 15th of March, they had this picture. The world had this picture worldwide. And there wasn't a single academic on the entire fucking planet, not one, come out and told you that the fuel pools were gone and the reactor cores were definitely gone. And every academic on the planet, the nuclear industry, knew it. Every one of them. And here we are 14 years later and still nothing but silence and propaganda. Showing you 2 microreceivers. That's in Tokyo. But that doesn't work proper, right? The Geiger counter only measures gamma. You've got to be worried about everything. Alphas, neutrons, betas, x-rays. And it's very ineffective at measuring gamma on top of that. So whatever number they're giving you got to multiply it by 600 to get the real number. Because you're talking about 1,000 isotopes that Geiger counter can't measure. And in order to have any measurement at all on the Geiger counter, you got to have the other 1,000 isotopes present. It's a despicable industry. It's a despicable. I'm being polite because we're on YouTube. These are terrorists. That's what the nuclear industry. These are not swindlers or grafters or hooligans. These are terrorists. That's what the pro-nuclear is. He's a terrorist. He's the worst terrorist too, because he kills everything for millions of years. He attacks every species, not just humans. On top of that, this picture was a handout to the media on the 16th of Reactor 3, which was a plutonium mixed oxide reactor. And there's not an academic on the planet spoke out. These are good-for-nothing cowards. These are... And this is frightening that people like that actually exist. It's disgusting and repulsive that people like this can actually exist. It's unscrupulous. And they tell their friends and their families and their loved ones that they're good people, because they have to tell them that because their family won't know that they're not good people, but they keep trying to reinforce that they're actually good people. But they know they're not good people. They don't give a shit about the victims. They don't care about the death of all the species. It doesn't mean nothing to them. The only thing that means anything to the nuclear industry is they protect the nuclear industry. And that's why they get the job. And you can't have that personality unless you're a coward. You have to be a coward to be like that. That's the incredible thing about this industry, is it's ran by millions of cowards. And if you knew any of them, you would have said, well, I was a teacher's pet in school. That was the little rat in school that ran to the teacher for everything, told the teacher everything that, no matter what anybody was doing, if the kid thought they can get some favors with the teacher or the principal, that's what he ran to. They done the same thing in university. They couldn't get a job. They were eventually hired because they wouldn't leave the universities. They get another degree, then they get another degree. They were functional savants a lot of times too, right? They were functional autism. The majority of them has definitely facets of autism. And the industry loves that, right? Can they mold and manipulate that and coerce that to do anything, these types of people. Very malleable. The industry is grotesque. It's an industry of cowards, and its entire legacy is based upon cowards. They're despicable, they're nefarious, they're hideous, frightfully spineless. Fukushima nuclear alert level raised. This is absurd. This is the 19th of March. This is 14 years ago today. This is the disgusting BBC. A team of Tokyo firefighters, not academics, not nuclear scientists, not nuclear students, not nuclear corporations, not nuclear heroes. There's no such thing as a nuclear hero. There will never be a nuclear hero. The hero, the only one they built for themselves is Homer Simpson. That's their nuclear hero, who goes out and tricks people all the time. If you walk past a cafeteria where there was 5 dozen nuclear scientists sitting down, you went, boo! Every one of them would defecate in their pants right on the spot. I'm not kidding you. They're cowards. If they're not cowards, call in. Nuclear scientists will never call into the show, because they're going to get faced with pictures of reality right away. They can't lie to somebody that's educated, right? It doesn't work. And they'll avoid that like the plague. If they see me coming down the road on the sidewalk, they're going to cross the street. They're going to go, shit, that's Durnford. I'm not kidding you, buddy. That's what they're like. Their wife's probably showing pictures of me to wake them up in the morning. Don't do that, honey. You scared me. Now get up and go to work, you little scumbag. That's what their wife will say to them. I'm waiting, nuclear scientists. How come after 14 years, nuclear scientists has never called into this show? Because they're cowards? You think they got something to do with it? You think they're all in bed by now? Japan has raised the alert level at its quake-damaged nuclear plant from 4 to 5. Really? From 4 to 5. What's absurd, incredibly absurd about this, they had that picture and that picture of the melted reactors. That was a level 7 times 45 right there. From a 4 to a 5 and a 7 point, like just Medusa, reactor 3, is a level 7 times infinity. There's every academic on the planet knew it. The 7-point international scale of atomic incidents. I sometimes I just can't wrap my mind around how they can look anybody, even in the mirror, look into a mirror at themselves. I can't imagine how he does it. Like, this is a plume model based on 23 days from the French government of 1 million to 10 million times background level of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air, covering the entire planet. I mean, they had that picture on the 14th of the reactor 3 blown up. That's the level 7 many times over, because it had 8 reactor cores at the top of the building. So that's 9 level 7s, which is what Chernobyl, which was nothing like these reactors. Chernobyl was brutal. It was horrifying. It was just mind-numbingly terrible for the entire planet on top of that. But it's nothing compared just to that single reactor. And these cowards, this entire industry worldwide of cowards, of evil, sadistic cowards, obnoxious, hateful, horrible, monsters, dishonorable, cowards, and just despicable. And they're obnoxious, and they're spineless, they're terrorists, let's face it. That's what the nuclear industry is. Coward terrorist. An industry of cowards and terrorists who put their industry before everything on the planet. Nothing that matters, only them. And so they should be exterminated like the species are. Even their families wouldn't mind if all of them died the next day. The crisis at Fukushima Daiichi site previously rated as a local problem. Why would you rate it as a local problem on the 19th when you had reactors detonating? How can you quantify that assertion? Are they going to censor me like yesterday? It was evil censorship yesterday, wasn't it? It was hideous censorship yesterday. How's the censorship tonight? Oh, just as evil as usual. 12 viewers on a show I've been doing for over a decade. The most important subject in human history. Is Fukushima a massive radioactive fallout beyond the mass extinction level event worldwide post-meltdown? Post-Fukushima meltdown. Yeah. Previously rated as a local problem is now, like, this industry has no right. It doesn't have the right to exterminate you and all the species, okay? There's no industry has that right to do it. And that's all this industry does. It exterminates everything everywhere it sets up shop. Once you take the fuel out of the reactor and put it in a pool, it's always still splitting atoms forever into the environment, poisoning everything for thousands of square miles. It doesn't stop there. They're pumping it into the ocean from 412 reactors worldwide are pumping radiation straight out into the ocean. They're burning it in the incinerators on the sites because there's no checks and balances. There's not a single checks and balances. And this self-appointed group known as UN, which is a military-industrial complex of 195 militaries, has bullied its way into all the universities and medias and Hollywood, of course. And they're the arbiter of your fate, of your futures, and they're behind the extinction event. The nuclear industry is behind the extinction event of all species. Why are we sitting there letting them do it? Why are we remaining silent? This is interesting. They're growing food in a nuclear wasteland right alongside 1-ton bags of radiation. There should be 1 million tourists go down there and kick the shit out of these farmers. Because obviously the idiot Japanese won't do it. The UN, why are we talking about UN? Every one of them should be marched to the top of the highest building on the planet and thrown off it. These are not humans. What they done to you and got done to you and your planet deserves the most wicked retribution possible. And we should rejoice in that too. Look at this story here. The International Atomic Energy Agency. This was 2023. International Atomic Energy Agency, which has no sovereignty over any country. They're the worst humans conceivable. They're the cowards of the cowards on top of that. They're the chicken necks of the industry. It says the public trust is key to projects using radioactive soil from a nuclear wasteland. They're talking about 30 million 1-ton bags and reusing it instead of storing it for 1 million years like you should be doing. It shouldn't exist in the first place. But they also, in the story, acknowledge that the International Atomic Energy is not a regulator. And they're not in a position to judge or approve Japan's anything, or any nuclear plant on the planet. They're not a regulator, and therefore not in a position to judge or approve anything on the entire friggin' planet, not just Japan. The group's task is make sure that Japan's plan is in line with the safety standards. What do you mean, in line with the International Atomic Energy Agency safety standards, when they're not a regulator? So why should you give them 2 nickels? Why should you give them 2 seconds of your time? Which is the biggest mistake you ever made, is giving them 2 seconds of your time. They should be prosecuted as predators and jailed for the rest of their life. And if you have the death penalty in the countries, that should be applied to them. They're disgusting parasites. That's who they actually are. And like, they have destroyed your future. They have destroyed the future of all the species. Why are you tolerating this? Says the battle to stabilize the plant is in a race against time. Like that was on the 12th and this was on the 14th. You ain't going to stabilize jack shit once one of these buildings blown up, let alone a couple of them. Because you ejected the fuel rods and the reactor cores right out of the buildings, right out of the fuel pools. They're going to land all over the site. There is no one going back in there. They've done everything to destroy you and they succeeded. When are you going to gut up and accept that and let them have it? You know, I don't expect everybody to be able to do live shows. These are freaking brutal. Just doing the preamble is brutal for these shows. Just gathering up, just gathering everything up and making a video and posting it is brutal. But doing these live shows is brutal. And the only reason we're doing it is because it's such an important subject. The world hopefully looks at it and says, well, that's a live show and they're talking about this subject. What's going on? And it piques their curiosity enough for them to come here and learn that this is pertinent. And if I live to be 1 million, I'll still be doing the show. Because the danger is never going to go away. And then what? Just censor me because they're such cowards? That's the only way they can sleep at night. There's no dissenting voices allowed whatsoever about this industry. Nothing. And there's never been a dedicated, never been an educational program explain to you how sadistic or how tricky and deceitful and dishonest, disingenuous the industry actually is, has there? Because if there was, this industry would have been dead a long time ago. It says the battle to stabilize the planet is a race against time. The UN's the UN. Why are you quoting the UN? They're not a regulator. They have no authority over your country or your nuclear industry or anything else. So why are you quoting them, you disgusting maggot? Oh, that's right, you're a journalist. You are the definition of a parasite. At least a maggot that has a purpose. A journalist doesn't. A journalist's job is to destroy everybody's future. They had access to those pictures on days before they wrote the story. Get myself all worked up here now. Just give me 1 second here. It's so much fun, eh? If I never blow my nose again, I won't be sorry. I can tell you that much. I'm just so sick of it. Japanese nuclear official said core damage to reactor 2 and 3 has prompted the raising of the severity grade. Core damage. You ejected the reactor core and 4 decades of reactor cores from the top of the building out of the building. And you killed our planet. You destroyed everybody's health, every species. You destroyed the water of the planet. The most special thing on this planet was water. The most precious thing on this planet was water. The most important thing on the planet was water. And that's what nuclear does. It destroys the water worldwide. The integrity of the water. And how many of us can... Why don't we live on the moon? Because there's no water, right? Why don't we live on Mars? Because there's no water. How come there's not millions of species on the planets in our solar system? Because there's no water. And what connects all of us? Water. We're all connected to water. We all drink water. We all excrete water. We all perspire water. We celebrate water. Water. How many times have you been thirsty and finally got your drink of water and said, thank God? Every one of us, right? How many times have you been a hot day and you finally got your hands on some water and you drank it and you felt better right away and rejuvenated, or you got a shower, or you went from a swim, and you just basked in the fact that now you were feeling good again, right? There's nothing else can do that for you. There's no pill out there can give you that feeling that water gives you, can it? And what does water ask for in return? Nothing, does it? But we're connected. We're all connected by water. Every species, every human on this planet is connected by water. Water is our hero. It's a real hero. Water is your most precious, bar nothing, your best friend and your most precious resource is water. Water asks for nothing in return, and it gives you everything, over and over, every day, all day. We take it for granted. And we don't give it any respect for some reason. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? I mean, they've seen that picture of the reactor. They know the fuel pools reactor cores were at the top of the buildings, and they still refused to raise it up. They got 4 reactors and 8 fuel pools in each of the buildings gone, and they still refused to raise it to a level 7. It took them months to raise it to a level 7 because it's an industry of goofballs and dummies and morons and sadistic monsters. And then they compare it with 3 Mile Island. Like, whoever done that should get... There should be 1,000 people every day smack them in the mouth for it. Everybody, International Atomic Energy Agency, everybody on the planet should be allowed to smack them in the mouth whenever you see them. At least spit on them anyway. How are you going to do something when 1,200 kilometers of your coastline looks like that? How does that work? Japan's government has conceded it could have moved more quickly in dealing with the nuclear crisis. It conceded! It covered up is why it never didn't concede jack shit. It covered it up. So there was no way we could do anything. They didn't want any help from countries because they didn't want anybody to go there and see what was happening. Because they're worthless scum. The Japanese are worthless scum. The nuclear industry, the government, they're just worthless. They're the epitome of nothing. They don't deserve to be on the same planet with me and you. They don't deserve it. Dear. They had this picture on the 15th. And even today, there's still just perpetual lies every day. Perpetual, relentless, lethal lies every fucking day. And then he said, look at these people in a paper suit spraying a reagent to bind with the radioactive particulates that are still splitting atoms. Imagine sending somebody in there in a paper suit because you care so least about them. Because you know they're going to die and all you can do is burn the paper suit. You wouldn't even give them a decent paper suit so they can last a couple hours. A decent suit. Some kind of protection. How can you not have nothing but hatred for this industry? How can you have nothing but contempt for this industry? How does that fucking work in your brains? Not the people that come here all the time, of course, but if you've never been here before, you should have nothing but hatred in your heart for this industry. And you don't understand the industry, I get that. You have to take my word for it, but for how long? Watch a couple of these videos, and you should be able to make up your own mind. You should come to the same conclusion as any rational person. This industry has to go because you're going to go anyway. They made sure you got no future, and your future is gone right away. Further heavy snowfall has all but ended hopes of rescuing anyone else from the rubble. Heavy snowfall. Remember the yellow radioactive fallout in Tokyo that covered everything? They call that pollen. But yet they have heavy snowfall. There was no pollen in March in Japan at that point, right? It was heavy snowfall. How are you going to rescue somebody in that? Who's going to be alive in that pile? In that big wood chipper that went through there? Japanese officials continue to try to reassure people that the radiation risk is virtually nil. Nil. There's nothing outside the 18 miles that they say the exclusion zone around the plant. Like, I think we should all be allowed to kick the shit out of whoever wrote that sentence. Well, we should be allowed to tear their arms off and their head right off their fucking bodies is what we should be allowed to do. Enormous spread of radiation. Levels so high in the hills of Lydia that the locals won't even go near the mountains. 150,000 microsieverts a year outside officials' home. A nuclear wasteland. What are you doing in a nuclear wasteland? Well, the International Atomic Energy Agency said it's safe here. Their job is to murder everything on the planet and preserve the nuclear industry. Kill all 8 million species, but keep the nuclear industry that's done that damage. Keep that going. Japan Times, cesium levels spiking with unusual high amounts of fallout. Tokyo up to 300,000 atoms a square meter. Home to the world's largest drinking water reservoir of its kind, built to supply Tokyo, 36 million people. Cesium spiking with unusually high amounts of fallout. No, that wasn't unusual after multiple nuclear reactors caught fire and blew up and blew up and caught fire and blew up. Why would you go to Tokyo? It's clear Tokyo is a nuclear wasteland anyway. Local government near Tokyo can't handle such a high level of radiation. Cesium clouds? You mean uranium, plutonium, americium, neptunium, curium clouds? With cesium in it. Cesium's nasty, don't get me wrong. And it's prolific, don't get me wrong. But it ain't nothing compared to the actual real elements that they won't acknowledge. Spread over many areas of the capital. You can't spread over many areas of the capital. You covered the entire country, you piece of shit. 57 microsieverts areas yet to be decontaminated. You can't decontaminate radioactive fallout areas. And it wasn't 57 microsieverts. There's grocery stores in the parking lot with 40,000 microsieverts, for goodness sakes. Why would you say microsieverts when radioactive fallout is not categorized that way? It's categorized with the physical atoms. There's 29 million atoms just after a single rainfall per square meter. That's never going to go away. And because it has a static charge, it'll cling to everything. You'll never get rid of it. You can't wash it off. You wash a bit off, but you can't wash the majority away. Well, where are you going to wash it? Onto something else, right? Mind-boggling cesium levels far from Fukushima. Health ministry in denial. This industry, man. It's already destroyed everything. Might as well get rid of them too. We should pick a day in the future and everybody go hunt these fuckers down. They force us to forget everything. The government radiation levels are complete fiction. Mass media is the biggest criminal, worse than typical. Your media is the worst, most dangerous thing we've ever created besides the nuclear industry. Japanese officials continue to try to reassure people the radiation risk is virtually null outside the 18-mile exclusion zone. The authorities, the officials. Why is it when you give somebody that designation, as soon as they get the job, they turn into a piece of shit? They're just an employee. Why would you call an employee an official for? It goes right to their head, and now they're going to be sat there at the lunch table the next day with a whole bunch of other idiots, and they're going to do everything they can to destroy everybody's future and pretend that they're humans, that there's some human attributes whatsoever. Asian airports scanning passengers from Japan for possible contamination. The whole planet was contaminated. The airports were all contaminated worldwide after 23 days. You're talking about 10, 20, 30 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air in that plume model from the French government. Like, Fukushima really happened. The worst case happened in 5 days. The worst of the worst. The cowards of the cowards all gravitate towards the nuclear industry for some reason. To the pro-nuclear industry. I guess being a coward is easy, see? And the shit-for-brains Prime Minister Nato Khan told a national television address, "We will rebuild the nuclear wasteland from scratch. We must all share this resolve." You should put him in jail for the rest of his life as an example. He said the nuclear crisis was a great test for the Japanese people. What about the rest of the fucking planet, you piece of shit? Self-centered, arrogant piece of shit. We're going to move a little quicker in assessing the situation, says the Chief Cabinet Secretary Adano. What he done, how can you ever forgive what he done? How can you not? Like, his whole family should be stripped of any wealth that they have. The entire family. All of his assets should be liquidated. He should be put in jail for, or get the death. He actually should get the death penalty. If ever there is a death penalty application, it should go to that fucking piece of shit. What he done, how can you forgive him for what he done? How can you see past what he done? How can you pretend what he done doesn't matter? How can you pretend what he done wasn't a genocide? Huh? International Atomic Energy Agency Chief Amano, he's Japanese himself, right? Warned the Fukushima crisis was a race against the clock on the 18th when all the reactors had already detonated. Like why was the International Atomic Energy Agency given 2 fucking seconds anyway? When they showed up and got off their plane, they should have had the shit kicked out of them by a bunch of samurais and been thrown in a fucking dungeon and forgot about it. Fuck them. Because you have a big audience, so they show up and fuck you over and destroy your future. Why are you taking that? Why are you sitting there and taking that fucking shit from them? And look at this scumbags here. This is just a fraction of the media pretending 2 years later they're on top of reactor 4 to your left, 150 feet above the stump. How come they're not in fucking jail? How come they're not in some fucking dungeon? Cecilia Vega is now the press secretary, or the press reporter at the White House for ABC. Literally the worst humans conceivable. What they done? And they get a fucking pass. And they're wealthy for it. They should be stuffed in the fucking reactors, and we should celebrate that. We should cheer that. We should be proud of that they don't fucking exist anymore. They should be dealt with immediately. They should get the death penalty for what they done. Their job was to disarm you so you couldn't have a future. And they succeeded, didn't they? This is not something that just Japan should deal with, and the people of the entire world should cooperate with the fucking idiot Japan. How can we cooperate with Japan when you hid what fucking happened and you knew it right away, you piece of shit? Thank God you're fucking dead anyway. Like Shinzo Abe. Thank fuck you're fucking dead. The shit-for-brain International Atomic Energy Agency and its disgusting parasite team of experts, scumbags, taken radiation readings from Tokyo and found nothing to cause concern, saying there was no indication of radioactive iodine or cesium, which is a British terminology. So the British word, that was the British words. Whoever wrote their article was for the British media. A fucking scumbag, pro-nuclear in Britain. Extremely malice. Hundreds of tons of radioactive waste found over 500 kilometers from Fukushima, near Japan's biggest lake. Extremely malice. That's the best way to describe the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, the IRPA, the UNSCLEAR, the IPRC, any fucking nuclear industry on the planet is extremely malice. Serial killers and monsters and cowards. ABC Radio. Who's to blame for the radioactive fish? TEPCO denies the cesium contaminations from Fukushima. denies the radiation fallout from Fukushima. In fact, what they said was that the radioactive fallout in the communities, the landowners, when they cleaned up their property, had Geiger counters. They were going around digging up the topsoil and putting it in bags. They wanted TEPCO to take possession of the bags. TEPCO goes, no, you found it, you own it. Why is TEPCO even existing? So you don't blame the International Atomic Energy Agency. So you don't blame the nuclear industry, because that's who you're supposed to fucking blame. I mean, this is a worthless fucking industry. Radioactive cesium reported in the Kellogg cereal from Japan. 20 becquerels per kilogram. 11 becquerels per kilogram sees significant heart problem for children. Permanent. They hushed it up and shipped it worldwide. Water in at least 2 fuel pools in reactor building 3 and 4 is believed to be dangerously low, exposing the stored fuel rods. If you expose the fuel rods, they catch fire and they burn at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. They can't open their fucking mouth without lying. And we got trouble coming our way. Google, shit for brains Google, Boston Dynamics, has just put out updates on their new humanoid robot. Have you seen this fucking stuff? Let me play it for you. We're in real trouble. Let me turn this shitty fucking noise down. Have you seen this new robot from Boston Dynamics? So it's mastered the human movements. That's what they're going to show you right now, human movements. Watch everything. It's only a short video. It's a minute long. Look at this, how smooth it's walking. So if you dress them up in human clothing, like a skidoo suit, and you see them from a short distance, you'll never know the difference. Look at them. This is amazing stuff. We're in real trouble. Like, it's so realistic at this stage. Just keep watching. Watch what it's capable of. These movements. Now remember that they're not going to show you the real stuff. They're just going to show you like 10%. What you're seeing is 10% of its abilities. They don't want you to get too scared. You should be very scared that exists, and the people, because of the people that own it, which are the same people that are censoring the living shit out of me tonight, right? I'm fighting for their fucking future too. I'm fighting for their kids too. The fucking idiots. An electricity line has been bulldozed through to the site and bulldozed through a site where fucking there's 36 reactor cores melted down. Yeah, right. Sure you did. They're being hampered by radiation. They're racing to connect power. How are you going to connect fucking power when the reactors are all detonated? How does that work again? How are you going to fucking connect power? So, like, if only one of these reactors blew up, you still couldn't go there and connect power to any of them because it's a nuclear wasteland. When you've got 4 of them, with a total of 36 reactor cores melted down, these are massive, each of them are massive reactor cores. How the fuck are you going to go in there and connect power? Frank von Hippel on March the 16th. I played the whole video. Well, not the whole video, but Because the whole video is like 17 minutes long. But he's talking about just one reactor, but he's acknowledging it's true for all 4 reactors. He's talking about reactor 4. Just watch this. So he's going to acknowledge there's 8 reactor cores in the fuel pools at the top of reactor 4, which is going to be the exact same for all buildings.
And if, in terms of what we know about the capacity, about how many fuel rods would likely be inside that reactor, what sort of quantity are we talking about radioactivity?
I've heard different numbers ranging from 2 to 15 reactor cores worth. No, 2 to about 8 reactor cores worth.
So if it can't be controlled, that's worst case scenario, 8 reactors worth of radioactivity.
Right.
And it would be released into the atmosphere.
By the way, the fact that this has happened at unit number 4 is understandable and is consistent with the theory that it really did dry out, because the fuel from the unit number 4 was most recently discharged, and therefore was the hottest, and therefore the water would have boiled off more rapidly.
So you're talking about 36 reactor cores and the 4 buildings are gone. That's why they banned the food in 14 prefectures by 55 countries for over a decade. See? Because it's not like a fucking banana. It's not like a potato chip. It's not like fucking walking in the sunshine or sleeping on a fucking airplane or anything else. One reactor at the stricken nuclear plant appears stable. As workers race to restore power to the stricken. As workers race to restore power, because you can't write as workers race to restore power to the nuclear meltdowns. So you got to call it a stricken plant, right? Because you call it a nuclear meltdown, then everybody's going to say, go fuck yourself, which is appropriate. Like anything, if you see any videos out there where the nuclear industry is talking, go in the comments and say, go fuck yourself. Fine, you can find other ways to say it if you don't want to swear, but if they're holding lectures in your community, go to the lecture and tell them to go fuck themselves when they're asking for questions from the audience. Put your hand up, and when it comes your turn, take the mic and say, go fuck yourself. Everybody else will figure it out. Don't be fucking nice about it. Ideally, you spit in their fucking face, you get the chance. I can guarantee you I will. And the nuclear, the pro-nuclear are to be despised. They don't fucking deserve to breathe the same air as me and you. Engineers reported some rare success after fire trucks sprayed water for 3 hours of reactor 3. Like, how the fuck is that going to be successful when the building's already gone on the 14th, you fucking scumbag? The situation there is stabilizing, said Chief Cabinet Secretary O'Donnell. Why isn't that person getting waterboarded 500 fucking times to find out what he really done? Why is he allowed to be free? O'Donnell said the radiation levels in milk from Fukushima farm 18 miles from the plant in the spinach Ibaragi, a neighboring prefecture, exceed the limits set by the government. Set by the fucking government. Like I said, the worst thing you can ever hear is, hi, we're the government, we're here to help you. That's the worst fucking sentence imaginable. So when they set a limit, then that's the worst. It's guaranteed to poison you and your loved ones and destroy your health forever. Everybody. That's what they do. They're no good for anything else. Their job is to destroy everything they touch. That's all they're fucking good at. It's not like if you ate it right away you would be harmed. Yeah, but it'll destroy your health in increments over a short fucking period of time. It's never too late to prosecute serial killers. You know that, right? Japan's not going to prosecute him. They're going to give him a fucking huge pension. They're going to give him statues in the local park when he dies, or they're going to put him up on a pedestal as if he's an actual fucking human when he's actually not but a monster. Yeah, it's not going to hurt you right away, but there was 865,000 extra cancers in the first fucking year because Adano exists. So all of them should sue Adano for his words and the things he done. Every fucking one of them. But it's not just cancer. And by the way, not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. At the Fukushima Daiichi plant, officials connected a power cable to reactor number 2. No, they didn't. What are you talking about? How can you connect power to reactor 2, which is between reactor 1 and 3 and 4, which all detonated, including reactor 2? Workers say part of reactor 2 containment vessel is destroyed. Alarming pressure readings. There was no pressure readings. You had no fucking power for 1,200 kilometers. Potential global catastrophe from Fukushima Unit 2 highly radioactive fuel. Making Tokyo area uninhabitable. Well, what the fuck does reactor 1, reactor 3, and reactor 4 mean? Reactor 3 was fucking plutonium mixed oxide fuel. But reactor 2, see, because reactor 2 looks like the one that's intact, right? Oh, well, it would make Tokyo uninhabitable. And really? And reactor fucking 3 doesn't? Reactor 1 doesn't? Reactor 4 doesn't? Tokyo should be abandoned. Nearly a mile of cable is being laid before engineers try to crank up the coolers at reactor number 2. It simply wasn't fucking true. But because the media and the nuclear industry works hand in fist, you can't have a future. You can't have insects. You can't have fucking birds. You can't have bees. You can't have whales that are not emaciated. You can't have anything beautiful because the nuclear fucking industry stole everybody's future, every species' future. And then they go around in $5,000 suits pretending they're fucking human. They go around with a smug look on their fucking face. So they're going to crank up the coolers of reactor 2, which is absurd to suggest. Then 1 and 3 and 4 this weekend. So you're going to connect power to a building that doesn't exist anymore at Unit 1. You're going to connect power to a building that doesn't exist at reactor 2. You're going to connect power to a building that doesn't exist at reactor 3. And you're going to connect power to a building that doesn't exist anymore to reactor 4, are you? The fucking most worthless humans conceivable is the pro-nuclear. Nothing says worthless like the nuclear does. Nearly a mile of cable laid before engineers tries to crank up the coolers. It's hard for me sometimes not to lose my fucking mind. If they are successful in getting the cooling infrastructure up and running, they will be a significant step forward in establishing stability, said Eric Moore, a nuclear power expert at the U.S.-based Focal Point Consulting Group. U.S.-based Focal Point Consulting Group. So he's out there perpetrating the propaganda. He's a nuclear expert. So there's zero possibility he didn't see that fucking picture, which was out there circulating worldwide on the 15th of March, 4 days before that story. Shouldn't those people have to suffer the consequences for their lethal lies? Japan has raised the severity ratings at the nuclear crisis level 5 from 4. So 5 from 4, when you got 36 reactor cores melt down, you still won't even give it a level 7. You fucking parasites. You stupid morons. You shit for brains. You revolting parasites. You maggots. Just fucking maggots. The entire industry, nothing but maggots. The moment nuclear plant chief wept as Japanese finally admit the radiation leak is serious enough to kill people. March the 19th. Everybody there should take that and pull his fucking head right off your shoulder and get rid of it. Japanese upgrade accident from a level 4 to a 5. Same as 3 Mile Island. If that doesn't make you mad, what fucking does, I wonder? We will rebuild from scratch, says the Japanese Prime Minister. And he did, in a nuclear wasteland. They tricked everybody into going back so they can get sick and fucking die the most miserable death possible. So the nuclear industry can pretend that they're subhumans at least. Particles spewed from the wrecked Fukushima station arrived in California. I apologize, everybody. I'm so plugged up. 1 million atoms per square meter. That's disposition on the ground. That's a fucking nightmare. Just that acknowledgement right there. That's a nightmare. It's a permanent nightmare to 8 million species right there. The Japanese Nuclear Industrial Safety Agency, which... Why would they call themselves a safety industry, I wonder? All the fuel pools worldwide are hemorrhaging radiation into your communities, into your biosphere, into your ecosystem, into your water tables. They're all surrounded by fucking farms as far as you can see, so they can poison you in the supermarket. Admitted that the disaster was a level 5. A level 5. 36 reactor cores melt down and covered the entire planet in less than 20 days, and they call it a level 5. Which is classified as a crisis by the United Nations degenerate, stupid, idiotic, batshit crazy. They also said that 3% of the fuel in 3 other reactors at the Fukushima plant had been severely damaged. 3%. Like 3%. Man. It was £5 million or more, £6 million I should say, in each building is gone. All of it, not 3 fucking percent. How can you not hate this fucking industry? And it's now officially on par with 3 Mile Island. This is fucking 1,000 times worse than 3 Mile Island, just a single building, sure. Well, 800 times. I gotta duck out one more time. I'm still plugged up pretty freaking rough here. I'll put on another song to fill in a little gap here. I'll only be a minute. My apologies.
They promised you the world in a bright, safe light. Sold you beauty in a bottle, just like radium's delight. Now it's plutonium in the air, in every product, every bite. But darling, can't you see? It's the gamma shine at night. Plutonium girls, they shimmer, they dazzle, but beneath the surface it's a dangerous razzle. Once it was radium, now it's this silent mist. We've come full circle, but history's twist.
Sorry about that. I should have gave up after an hour, but I'm too stupid for that. I'm having too much fun yelling at the nuclear industry. Not as much fun as I would have to get my fucking hands on some of them. And now officially on par with 3 Mile Island. It burns my fucking soul that they have that arrogance, that hubris to come out and say something like that. These are fucking worthless scumbags. They're just worthless, eh? Radiation is streaming into the atmosphere from the used uranium rods of reactor number 4 after the pull to keep them stable boiled dry in a fire. And then you got people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, using Geiger counters that are ineffective, and then telling people that they're okay. The majority of those people, not majority, but all of them were told they were okay. It doesn't work that way. Like, the minute you encounter high radiation levels, you fuck over the Geiger counter. The stupidest thing, and these people are all lined up to get the fuck out of the country because they're the smart ones. Fukushima workers, the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants who don't speak the language, exposed to high radiation levels. And instead of letting them go home or go to the hospital, they assign them new task. Once a nuclear sucker, always a nuclear sucker, I suppose. I fucked that up. I'm really good. That's the only thing I'm really good at, is fucking stuff up. Just gonna try this. See if I can get that lucky. Yeah, it won't be long before it'll be legal to keep a nuclear scientist like a fucking pet in a cage. And on the weekends, your friends can come over and poke him with a stick or something. And that's the future, I would imagine. The world comes to its senses. And just feed them the peanuts from your fucking shit or something. Don't give them food. And when you get sick of it, you can put a garden hose in their car exhaust and feed it into their fucking cage and get rid of them. They don't got no right to exist on our planet. If I seen a nuclear scientist drown, I'm going to go over and jump on his fucking head. I couldn't give a fuck about a nuclear academic. I couldn't give a fuck. Meanwhile, Switzerland has announced it will move its embassy in Japan to Osaka, which is 600 kilometers away from Fukushima, because the fear of radiation levels in Tokyo could increase, which is... Get the fuck out of the country, stupid. The operator that is shit for brains plant said, TEPCO, the scumbag of the earth, said it would have to vent radioactive gas from reactor 3, but later called off the risky procedure after pressure and size stabilized. Really? So the pressure stabilized in reactor 3. Did it? You were going to vent it, were you, you fucking piece of shit? On the 20th of March, you were going to vent radiation from a building that doesn't even practically, well, the reactors, the nuclear facets of it don't even exist. You ejected 9 reactor cores right out of the fucking building. How can anybody tolerate this industry for another second? How does that work? So, like, this was out there on the fucking 14th, and they're like, oh no, we're going to vent some fucking gas from it so it doesn't blow up. 6 days after it fucking blew up. The journalists should be fucking just taking the reactor 3 and throwing the fuck in there, made to go in there at gunpoint. If you don't go in, just shoot the fucking thing. It's not like they're good or useful or human. The operator of the Fukushima plant, idiot machine, would have to vent. I said it would have to vent radioactive gas from reactor 3. How are you going to vent it from reactor 3 when it don't even exist anymore? They destroyed everything and everybody, and you're just going to let them get away with it. Japan Fire and Disaster Management Agency said readings up to 27 millisieverts was detected on 50 firefighters. They were decontaminated after a 13-hour operation to spray water to the spent fuel at reactor 3. They were sent to reactor 3 where the fuel was already gone. They were sacrificed so the industry can pretend that it has some redeeming qualities. On Sunday morning, workers doused a pool at reactor 4, also cause of concern for the first time. Because we're talking on the 20th, which is the next Sunday, right? For the first time. So they put water in the fuel pool of a building that no longer exists, where the fuel pool was already gone on the 15th. Everything was gone on the 15th. Because this picture was circulated worldwide on the 15th. And like there was no mistake in any nuclear academics. None of them ever come out and told us that, of course. Not one of them. Well, that's a lie. There was one of them. And we do have one story after 14 fucking years. We have one story where somebody acknowledged the fuel pool was, and the reactor core was ejected at a reactor 3. It was just a single story. But every other nuclear academic on the planet took great pride in cutting your fucking throats and destroying your future and making sure you couldn't have one because you didn't know the difference. You couldn't come up with solutions. You were denied the ability for your loved ones and your children to grow up and have a future by an industry that hates your fucking guts. Technicians have already restored power lines to reactor 1 and 4. Like how in goodness gracious can we tolerate these people? That's reactor 1. That's 9 reactor cores detonating. You ain't fucking restoring power there. And there's reactor 4. How are you going to restore power to that? And this is the media 2 years later, at the end of 2013, 2014. This is fraction of the media pretending they're 150 feet above the nuclear meltdown. And you got a senator's son up there, CBS at Dorn. You got Rupert Winfield Hayes from the BBC, United Kingdom. You got this cunt from fucking CNN. And another cunt from fucking ABC Australia. And she's originally from Australia. They're now making around $900,000 a year, living it up, living luxury lives, jet setting all over the planet, interviewing rock stars and everything else. Living high on the hog while everybody else gets sick and fucking dies. How do we reconcile that? How do we pretend that never happened? Like if we were to take all of these and convict them and sentence them to death, and then we're going to stream it live, I would go out and buy a fucking carton, a big fucking carton of popcorn. And I get a blanket and snuggle up on the couch, and I record everything so I can watch it over every day when I wake up and enjoy it again. And I sit there and I'd be like, I wouldn't take my fucking eyes off the TV because I wouldn't get up and cook a meal because I just have popcorn. I have a big fucking 1-ton bag of popcorn there, and I'd just sit there and fucking stick my hand in and eat popcorn while I'm watching it. I wouldn't take my eyes off the fucking screen. I'd be kill him. I don't think they should be allowed to live another fucking second. Neither of them. For doing what they done. You got any idea how fucking evil it is to do what they done? There's no other comparison. We don't have anything else that kind of evil. We can't compare it to anything else. It's monstrous what they done. Same with the United Nations. They're just the worst fucking disgusting parasites. Speaking of parasites, David Lockbrum, again tonight, of the Union of Unconcerned Scientists in the United States, says the workers need to go through the plant. Really? You're going to go into a nuclear fucking meltdown? The government's chief spokesperson, the worst creature in human history, Udano, confirmed the plant would not be used again. Like if you watch media, there's something wrong with your fucking head. You believe a single fucking word they tell you about anything. Japan is considering a temporary ban on sales of food products from Fukushima. Temporary fucking ban. After you had multiple reactors detonate. You had 36 reactor cores meltdown. I can't contain it. I can't contain my anger all the time. Fuckhead Idano said the contaminated food and water pose no threats to human health. Do not pose an immediate threat to your health. No, it comes by in a year, 2, 3 years later, and you have to liquidate your assets to get another couple of months of life. 865,000 extra cancers in the first year. Like you really are like Udano and ABC and BBC and CNN and all your media done it. Every fucking one of them out there done it to you. Pretended they were in reactor 4, filled you up with all these lies and propaganda. And then you say iodine in your tap water, 150 miles away, 5 prefectures. But poses no danger to people even if ingested. And you see the cesium with the A? That means it's written by British academics. The British nuclear industry are truly the fucking most despicable, degenerate, horrific cunts on the fucking planet. Radiation was also detected on fava beans exported to Taiwan. It showed slightly higher radiation than natural occurring trace levels. So when you conflate natural stuff with man-made stuff, you should spend the rest of your life in jail. That's how egregious that crime actually is, because people might eat the food, see? And then they're going to get sick and destroy their health. And you're talking about millions of people. Idano said someone who drank the tainted milk for a year would receive the same amount of radiation in a health scan. So like a CT scan, you're turning it on, and there's a beam of energy, right, from neutrons, and then you turn it off. That's the end of it. Now, you do permanent damage, don't get me wrong, right? But when the radiation is in your fucking body, from consuming it, from milk and everything else, it's in your body pulsing energy every second for the rest of your life. Your body now attacks each atom and every second for the rest of your life with white blood cells and tries to repair the damage every second. It has to attack that with white blood cells. It can't keep up with any of it. You can't compare it together. And so he should have his fucking skull capped open live on TV so we can all enjoy it, and have his brains taken out of his head while he's still alive, piece by piece, and fed to his fucking kids. As a deterrent so the other pieces of shit in the nuclear industry don't fucking do the same thing to us. He said the contaminated water, milk, and spinach would have to be consumed in enormous quantities over a long period of time to pose a threat to the... So what the fuck is a journalist regurgitating that for when it's completely barbaric lies? And he's probably worth $200 or $300 million now because he came out for the nuclear industry. The nuclear industry takes care of its own little maggots, its own little parasites, its own little fucking monsters. You know, there was this YouTube channel of samurais, and they were posting all these videos of these were real samurais, eh? And they used to send me all kinds of threatening messages on my YouTube channel. And so I used to go over to the videos and tell them to go fuck themselves all the time. I used to call them worthless shits, cowards and traitors to the samurais for doing what they're fucking doing. It's why ain't you holding your government, your lawyers accountable as an incentive so your country can be proud once again? Why are you attacking me for, you little fucking parasites? You wouldn't believe what's been done to me over the years. The attacks up on me. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe what I had to persevere through all these years. You wouldn't believe the attacks up on me when I was on the fucking ocean doing the research. I couldn't defend myself. There was no one to defend me. And be out there for 4 to 5 months a year for 6 years. Every year, 4 to 5 months. I come back in and have to rebuild the whole operation again so I can head out again the following year. And as soon as I come ashore, if I got ashore at 11 o'clock in the morning after 5 months on the ocean, I done a show that night and every night 7 days a week. Trying to get this planet to come to its fucking senses. And I used to say years ago, if I had my time back, I would have become an assassin. I would have went and got rid of all these fuckers that are doing this to us. I don't know if I'm capable of that, don't get me wrong, but I wish I was. Because that would have been a good thing. That would have been an incentive. There's no incentive for them not to be evil, so they're evil. They're evil by proxy on top of that. They don't get the job unless they're just enormous cowards and evil scum. Graham Andrews, senior IAEA official. So what? What do you mean official? They're a fucking corporation. The same structure as McDonald's or fucking... They have no authority. They're not a regulatory agency. They don't have any authority over any fucking country. What are you calling them an official for? Told reporters in Geneva that the Japs were considering halting food sales from the affected region. You mean they hadn't? Because they refused to acknowledge publicly what was really happening. And in order to do that, you got to allow everything else to happen, which meant you had to allow everybody to be poisoned. Because if you banned the food originally, then everybody would become suspect, right? So you wouldn't ban the food, therefore everybody gets poisoned. But you get to keep your fucking jobs, right? Your cushy jobs with great money coming in. Imagine if Greenpeace done what I was doing. Look at the money they got. They got endless amount of money. And all they done was come out and lied to you. All they come out and done is sold you out. And the media rewarded them, though, by putting links to donate to Greenpeace on all the major media sites. Every time you see a Greenpeace story in the major media, look on that page, you'll find a donation button to Greenpeace. I got a broken fucking motor. I can't take my boat out and do research. We've done everything, but my motor is old and finally gave up the ghost, right? But we've done everything we could to make that happen. I ran myself and anybody that would help me into the fucking ground to try to get the job done. And there's no foundations out there willing to support good people. They're only willing to support the propaganda machines. That's it. The foundations were all co-opted by the propaganda machines and then weaponized against good people and humanity. That's your legacy of this idiot planet. You had the only planet in the solar system. You have no alternative. And you sit by and let this industry, this single fucking industry, wreck everything, all your water. How can you fucking tolerate that? I can't. The spread of radioactivity to the food supply is already affecting the Japs' food export. South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Singapore started screening food. Yeah, that didn't mean they didn't let the food come in. They're screening the food. They just had the pro-nuclear there to give the illusions that you weren't going to be eating radioactive food. There will be damaging rumors. A farmer who was evacuated from her home, right? Just they They quote the shit for brains. They quote the scum and the shit for brains to justify being called a fucking journalist. And imagine, like, and when someone asks these people, these journalists, what you do for a living, they'll like, I'm a journalist at a big media. They're very proud of themselves. And big fucking smile. And their kids were like, my mommy and my daddy's a journalist. Better than your mommy and daddy. Right? They got this whole illusion that they live into, this little bubble. They're fucking idiots. Drinking 1 liter of water with the iodine at Thursday's level is the equivalent of receiving 1/88 of the radiation from a chest X-ray. A spokesperson for the prefecture's disaster response headquarters. Like, you can't compare, like, when it's in your body. First off, this stuff is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. How are we doing here anyway? $2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. No, it's 1/88 of radiation from chest X-ray. Chest X-ray you turn on and you turn it off. Radiation is in your fucking body. It's pulsing energy every second for the rest of your life till it finally kills you. Like, if you get a single atom, you put 200 million atoms on the head of a needle, you get a single one in your body builds a tumor on it. How the fuck are you going to compare that to a chest X-ray? Iodine 131 decays within a matter of weeks, but can pose a short-term risk to the health of the International Atomic Energy. The International Idiot Machine said. Decays within a matter of weeks, the United Nations says. So shut the fuck up and drink your fucking water and fuck off. That's what they're saying to you. Japan survivors found from the tsunami. Elderly woman, teenage grandson found alive 9 days later. 80-year-old lady, and she was trapped for 9 days on her furniture or something. They're surprised they let them rescue the victims because that could make the nuclear industry look bad, right? It's better that 1 trillion people die than anybody make the industry look bad. Mari Yamaguchi, truly one of the worst humans we've ever come across. Workers flee Japan's nuclear plant as the smoke rises. And like, the propaganda was immediate. The propaganda was really something. And a lot of people bought into the original propaganda. It was really, even today, they'll still regurgitate the propaganda from the original stories. And I've seen it's so surprising that when I see that, right? I get it. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just switched on more, maybe. I don't understand why the world has not gone insane with anger at this industry. Why it's not trying to poke the fucking eyes out of everything in the nuclear industry. At least do that much. The governor, Santo of Fukushima Prefecture, told the victims living in a gymnasium now, don't give up. We know you are suffering. Please get us the hell out of here, yelled a 63-year-old truck driver. No, it's nuclear industry. They don't give a fuck about you or anything else or the 8 million species. They hate you, actually. They literally hate your guts. Because they can't be a good person like you, see? They don't know what that is. They never had that feeling of being a good person. What caused the smoke to billow first from Unit 3 at the Fukushima Daiichi plant and later from Unit 2 is under investigation. What caused smoke to billow is under investigation on the 20th. Is it? Really? Really? How can that be under investigation? What the fuck are you talking about? The building blew up. Everybody's seen it on TV. That's what I mean, right? the disconnect is unbelievable. The idiot U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission said Unit 1, 2, and 3 have all seen damage to the reactor cores, but the containment is holding. Does that look like it's fucking holding to you? I apologize, because some shows I can't fucking contain it anymore. The government has just started testing fish on the 20th, apparently. They did, like, there was places where they had no restrictions until 2012. Like, oh, oops, my bad. The government has just started to test fish and shellfish. Don't eat shellfish, for fuck's sakes. Shellfish bioaccumulate radiation 125,000 times more than a fish does, because a shellfish is a filter feeder. It's a microscopic filter. So that's going to be the worst bioaccumulation. If you want to get leukemia, go out and eat a bowl of fucking seafood. Small amounts do not pose a risk to human health in the short term. It is short term. The minute that you get it in your body says, I got a foreign object. Your body attacks it for the rest of your life with white blood cells. That's fucking harm. And if you're getting a lot in your body attacks everything for the rest of your life with white blood cells, every single atom. And the atom is pulsing energy at the speed of light, wrecking chromosomes, DNA, and cells. Your body tries to repair that every second. And it can't fucking do it. So your immune system is compromised immediately. And eventually you're going to get sick and die from this. So saying it doesn't pose a risk to the human health in the short term, in small amounts, like a fucking atom. You can put 2 million on the head of a needle, you can't see it, but a single one of them will cause you harm for the rest of your life, and eventually a tumor that'll take your life. So it's not a small amount. It's so tiny on the scale of what anybody typically understands. They can't appreciate that scale, right? Right, to something so small, 200 million atoms in a hit of a needle, you can't see it. If one of them's in your body, it's pulsing energy up to 600 feet away from you. So it's wrecking all your chromosomes, your DNA, and your cells. How can you get any worse than that? It's 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison, and when it's in your body, it's giving you a dose of 1 trillion times what it would on the outside of your body, because it's pulsing energy every second for the rest of your life, wrecking your immune system. The fucking idiot machines from UN said Japan will have to do more to reassure the public about the food safety. Have to do more to reassure? How can you reassure them when you had all the reactors blow up? Like, how can you reassure them after that happens? That fucking UN, boy. Their days are numbered, I can tell you that right now. Walking outside for a day and eating food repeatedly are two different things. The trouble at Fukushima have in some ways overshadowed the natural catastrophe, threatening a wider disaster. The plant spews more concentrated forms of radiation than it has so far. Like, this was a French's model study of 1 million, 10 million times background levels covering the entire planet per cubic meter of air of cesium-137. Right? It destroys every one of their laws, these types of studies, right? The French government. It was very conservative, by the way. For instance, a motorized pump to inject water in the Unit 2's overheated reactor and spent fuel pools need to be replaced. An official at the Nuclear Industrial Safety Agency needs to be replaced. These people are insane. So they were focusing their efforts on Reactor 3 fuel pool, but it doesn't. You hear that story over, don't you? Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. But there is no pool. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Japan struggles to restore power to the nuclear plant. Race to avert a nuclear crisis. How are you going to avert a nuclear crisis when the worst case scenarios already happened and was acknowledged on the 15th? On the 15th, they're showing you a picture. There was a handout photo showing 4 melted reactors in a fucking row and 8 fuel pools melted in a row. 36 reactors melted in a row, basically. Because that's what was in the fuel pools total, was 32 reactor cores in the 4 buildings. That was distributed out. So every academic on the planet had that picture, had that story. Don't look to the nuclear industry for anything. Their job is to cut your throat and leave you on the side of the road to fucking bleed out. And while you're dying on the side of the road, they're at your house looting it. Engineers restore electricity to 3 reactors. No, they don't. See, there's no incentive not to be a degenerate piece of shit. Japan's Nuclear Safety Agency said pressure was rising in the most threatening reactor, number 3. Which I showed you how many fucking times was already gone. All the plumes are showing you the entire planet covered in radioactive fallout in 20 to 30 days. All the studies quantify it, show you the actual numbers. And the numbers are just fucking terrifying. Contains highly toxic plutonium. Well, all the reactors are, the biggest byproduct is going to be the curium isotopes, not fucking plutonium. The health ministry urged some residents near the plant in Fukushima to stop drinking tap water after high levels of radioactive iodine were detected. Every time I hear the word radioactive iodine, you should be ashamed of universities. You should be humiliated of academics. The contamination of food and water is a concern, says UN watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. It's a concern, is it, you fucking maggot? You disgusting weasel. That's what all his friends called him when he was young, a weasel. In a much-needed boost for the Japs' battered stock market, billionaire investor Warren Buffett, the worm of humanity, instead he called the event a buying opportunity. No power yet to 1, 3, and 4 at all because they don't fucking exist anymore, shit for brains. Working in a suit sealed by duct tape. Suit sealed by duct tapes at a nuclear meltdown, eh? Yeah. They really are just the most revolting parasites history has ever conjured up. Those people died that day or that hour. Engineers have connected power cables to number 2 reactor. What the fuck are you talking about? You're not connecting. Reactor 2 is a 100% meltdown, but it's the only building that looks like it's still intact. Can we ever trust a journalist? No. Has any journalist ever come out and told you the truth? No. Can they justify that? No. Is it normal? Yes. For them to lie to you and hate your fucking guts? Apparently so. If the pumps cannot restart, drastic and lengthy measures may be needed, like burying the plant in sand and concrete. Those who remain are not panicked because they fucking don't know the difference, because they listen to the IAEA or United Nations or the nuclear industry. If you listen to those fuckers, you're fucked. Scores of nations has pledged aid to the victims, but little foreign relief supplies are visible in some devastated towns and villages. With Japan, like, there was countries wanted to send in teams into the nuclear site, right? Experts. And Japan was like, no fucking way. Nope. And, you know, like, I remember this story, it was 7 years later, and they were talking about these scumbag journalists and reporters were going there. Nobody was allowed to have a camera. And the ones that did have cameras, all the memory cards were given to the Japan, and then they would edit out all the pictures they didn't like. Like, you really got to be... What the fuck is that all about? Well, even the journalists who they didn't trust, they didn't want them to give them the ability to blackmail them, right? Media and others have raised questions about the government and plant operators. Took a whole lot of power company. Just blame TEPCO instead of the nuclear industry. The bait and switch game. There have been suggestions nuclear drama was taking priority over the human suffering. There's nothing too wicked for a journalist. There's nothing a journalist won't do to cut your throat, is what we know for sure now. If you don't hate nuclear, there's something wrong with you. If you're around here for any period of time, you hate fucking nuclear. I know that much. But how can you not hate nuclear? How does that work? How does that work? I've hated them long before Fukushima. I've been at this long before Fukushima came along. I guess that's it for day and night. La 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 la. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm going to come and close the poll down shortly. Fuck all views. Fuck all likes. Censored out of existence. Is Fukushima a massive radioactive fallout beyond the mass extinction level event worldwide post-meltdown? You see that poll a lot in the last month or two, right? And the reason is that's in honor of Calm Down Charlie, Yoshida Mashita, who's been stalking me from Japan for over a decade. We're going to just keep doing that poll. We'll change it back and forth, but generally that's the poll forever now. In honor of the Japs, like Calm Down Charlie. I don't think James got a new song up. Nope. There's a lot of work. I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to discourage him, for goodness sakes. He's produced more anti-nuclear music than everybody on the planet combined. Let's go into the archives. I want to hear one of his older songs tonight. James Lucet. James got a nice setup there, man. Holy smokes. He's got so many great songs. That's a great song, too. I was listening to that earlier today. Starvation at Sea again. And he hardly gets any views, the poor bugger. So, he's got so many great songs. Small Modular Reactor Hype Train. It's got a crazy guitar riffs in that one. That's another like amazing. Let's play that song. Actually, don't forget to go over there and subscribe. So I got a regular routine here now. What I do is I turn down the volume. I come to the video, stop it, go back and start it right there. And I make sure, I think I am in 1080 though, but a lot of times I'm not in 1080, right? And then I'll come in and close the poll. Don't forget to vote on the poll after the song. I'll close that down. I'm going to adjust the volume for you in real time. And hopefully see you tomorrow night. I'm not sure. You can tell how miserable I am tonight. I got a lot off my chest tonight for the nuclear industry, so maybe tomorrow night I can be back and be half sensible. No guarantee with me though. I'm watching the planet die. It's hard for me to. Okay, I'm going to adjust the volume in real time. We'll see everybody on the next show. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you make it this far. Go over to James and give him some music and give him some thumbs up.
Roll up, step right in. We shrunk it down. It's safe again. No meltdowns, no waste, no fear. Just don't ask where it disappears. Fits on a truck parked by your school. Risk, nah, that's the golden rule. A lawsuit here, a bailout there, but hey, don't breathe the Utah air. Hype train, full speed ahead. Choo choo, baby, that's what they said. More reactors, more mistakes. When it derails, guess who pays? A factory built so nice and neat. Stack 'em up on any street. A soda can could last for years, but where it vents, that's unclear. They called it clean, they called it cheap, till the budget's in too deep. Cost per watt through the roof. We swear it works, but where's the proof? Hype train, watch it roll. On your street, out of control. They want it fast, they want it now. Same old scam in a different town.
Accidents don't happen with great frequency. SMRs produce less waste. Spent fuel, just store it on site. Trust us, this time we got it right. Hype train, can't slow down. Crashing straight into your town. No meltdown, no waste, no doubt. Wait, where's the money now?